All right, number 35. A landscaper is designing a rectangular garden. The length of the garden is to be 5 feet longer than the width. If the area of the garden will be 104 square feet, what will be the length in feet of the garden? Okay, so we know this garden is the shape of a rectangle. Okay, so we could draw this out first. Okay, so we have a rectangle. Okay, and then we know rectangle have 490-degree angle, and then the opposite sides are the same. Okay, so the length of the garden is 5 feet longer than the width. We don't know what the width is, and we don't know what the length is. Okay, but what we can do is this. We can say if the width of the rectangle, let's just call it x. Okay, we don't know what it is, but let's just call it x. Then the width, if width is x, then we can say the length is 5 feet longer than the width. All right, we don't want to introduce another variable here. We don't want to say the length is y. Okay, instead, since we know the length is 5 feet longer, then we can represent the length using x plus 5. And it's 5 feet longer than the width, and the width is x. So the length should be x plus 5. Right? So when we do question like this, try not to make another variable unless we have to. Okay, if they give you the relationship between the two, the length and the width here, right? We want to represent the length in terms of the width. So we'll say the width is x and the length will be x plus 5 because it's 5 feet longer than the width. All right. Once we have a label like this, they also said the area is 104 in total. So the area of the rectangle is length times width. Okay. And the area of 104, we can plug it in. Oops. 104 equal to the length, which is x plus 5, times the width, which is x. Okay, so we can actually use this equation here to solve for x. All right, so to solve for it, we could do trial and error. Okay, so if you try some whole numbers for x, right, we might get something that works. Okay, that multiply to get 104, that could work. But if we're going to solve algebraically, what we have to do is we have to distribute and multiply this out. And we do end up as a quadratic. So we do that will be x squared plus 5x here. And then since the quadratic equation, we have to set it equal to 0. And then we try to factor from there. So we want to move over to 104 to minus 104 on both sides. You get 0 equal to x squared plus 5x minus 104. And then we can just go ahead and factor this. So it'll be the first term is x squared, so it'll be x and x. And we're looking for two number multiplied to be negative 104, and that to add to be positive 5. So it should be here, if you try in the calculator, I think it should be 13 and 8. Yeah, that's a little bit tricky, but it should be a minus 13 and positive 8. Okay, the 13 times 8 is 104. So, and then we want to make a positive, okay, my bad. It should be a positive 13 and minus 8 because we have to make a positive 5 in the middle, right? So it should be a positive. So 13 should be positive and the 8 should be negative. Okay, so when they multiply, we get negative 104, and we add 13, positive 13 plus negative 8, we get positive 5. Okay, so that should be our factors for this one. So x plus 13 times x minus 8. And then once we have that, we can solve for x. So we'll set each factor equals 0 and solve for x. So 6 x plus 13 equal to 0. So get x equal to negative 13. That would be one solution. And the other one, we set x minus 8 equals 0, and solve for x, we get x equal to 8. That's the other solution. Okay. But for this one, which solution do we want to use? Will x be 8 or is it negative 3, or can we use both? Since this is an application question, and we know x here represents the width of the garden. So the width of the garden cannot be negative, right? It has to be a positive number because it's a distance, so it can be negative here. Okay, so then we can just ignore the negative 13 times, won't work. Okay, so I had to pick the positive number for x. So x is actually equal to 8. Okay, But then that's the width, right? So the question wants to know what will be the length. So the length, we can just do x plus 5. Since x is 8, we'll do 8 plus 5, and that should give us 13. Okay, so it'll be 13 feet. So that will be our final answer for question 35, which is 13.